So I did. This story was written in 1908. The book is almost that old. And she said, wear something old-timey. Well, not only do I have on a dress that's old-timey, it's old, ladies. My grandmother made this dress for me 40 years ago. And I hope it's not like the wonderful one-wash-shay and suddenly goes, ooh, all of a sudden. Today's story is by Raymond MacDonald Alden, Why the Chimes Rang. There was once, in a faraway country where few people have ever traveled, a wonderful church. It stood on a high hill in the midst of a great church now, but when you come back, you can bring someone to help her. I will rub her to keep her from freezing and perhaps get her to eat the bun that's left in my pocket. But I can't bear to leave you and go on alone, said little brother. Both of us need not miss the service, said Pedro, and it is better for me than you. You can easily find your way to the church, and you must see and hear everything twice, little brother, once for you and once for me. I'm sure the Christ child must know how I should love to come with you and worship him. Oh, and if you get a chance, little brother, to slip up to the altar without getting in anyone's way, take this little silver piece of mine and lay it down for my offering when no one's looking. Now do not forget where you've left me, and forgive me for not going with you. In this way, he hurried little brother off to the city and winked hard to keep back the tears as he heard the crunching footsteps sounding farther and farther away in the twilight. It was pretty hard to lose the music and splendor of the Christmas celebration that he had been planning for so long, and spend the time instead in that lonely place in the snow. Oh, the great church was a splendid place that night. Everyone said that it had never looked so bright and beautiful before. When the organ played and the thousands of people sang, the walls shook with the sound, and little Pedro, away outside the city wall, felt the earth tremble around him. At the close of the service came the procession with the offerings to be laid on the altar. Rich men and great men marched proudly up to lay down their gifts to the Christ child. Some brought wonderful jewels, some baskets of gold so heavy that they could scarcely carry them down the aisle. A great writer laid down a book that he had been making for years and years. And last of all, walked the king of the country, hoping with all the rest to win for himself the chime of the Christmas bells. There went a great murmur through the church as the people saw the king take from his head the royal crown, all set with precious stones, and lay it gleaming on the altar as his offering to the Holy Child. Surely, everyone said, we shall hear the bells now, for nothing like this has ever happened before. But still, only the cold, old wind was heard in the tower. And the people shook their heads, and some of them said, as they had before, that they never really believed the story of the chimes, and doubted if they ever rang at all. The procession was over, and the choir began the closing hymn. Suddenly, the organist stopped playing as though he had been shot, and everyone looked at the old minister who was standing by the altar, holding up his hand for silence. Not a sound could be heard from anyone in the church. But as all the people strained their ears to listen, there came softly but distinctly, swinging through the air, the sound of the chimes in the tower. So far away and yet so clear the music seemed. So much sweeter were the notes than anything that had been heard before, rising and falling away up there in the sky, that the people in the church sat for a moment as still as though something held each of them by the shoulders. Then they all stood up together and stared straight at the altar to see what great gift had awakened the long silent bells. But all that the nearest of them saw was the childish figure of little brother, who had crept softly down the aisle when no one was looking, and had laid Pedro's little piece of silver on the altar. Why the chimes rang. As an afterpiece, I have another little recitation for you. This is not quite as old. I think it was written in the 40s. 'Twas the night before Christmas in Texas, you know, way out on the prairie without any snow. Asleep in their cabin were Buddy and Sue, a-dreaming of Christmas like me and like you. Not stockings, but with such skill.
Come on there, Buck, Poncho, and Prince, to the right. There'll be plenty of traveling for you all tonight.
The driver in Levi's and shirt that was red had a 10-gallon Stetson on top of his head. As he stepped from the buckboard, he was really a sight, with his beard and mustaches so curly and white. As he burst in the cabin, the children awoke, and both so astonished that neither one spoke. And he filled up their boots with such presents galore that neither could think of a single thing more. When Buddy recovered the use of his jaws, he asked in a whisper, "Are you Santa Claus?"
Am I the real
Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas
And a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you